Good morning, family and friends. Speak to you from the subject brokenness. Brokenness. It's been said that in war there are no atheists. Even if you never paid attention to God before, when bullets are whizzing around you, and when crises occur in your life, people begin to pay attention to God as never before. Those of us who remember 9/11, churches were packed as people begin to turn to God because of the crisis, and people begin to cry out, "Oh God, help me." When we feel we're not going to make it, it does not matter what your belief is or that you don't have a belief. People turn to God. Brokenness, in a state of brokenness. Some of us may be there right now. It may be health issues, financial issues, marital issues, personal problems, loneliness, guilt, anger, anxiety, bitterness, depression. And we believe that unless God intervenes, there is no hope. Brokenness. Well, whatever problems we have, we know that we need God, and we're calling out to Him for help. In Genesis 32, Jacob faced that kind of crisis. He was returning to Canaan in obedience to God, but his return meant that he would have to face Esau, the brother whom he had deceived and cheated some 20 years before. He had cheated him out of his birthright, and Jacob was afraid of how Esau would receive him because Esau had declared that he was going to murder him. When Jacob's messengers came back to him and told him that Esau was coming out to meet him with 400 men, Jacob froze with fear. 400 men meant that Esau could easily wipe Jacob out and take everything of value that Jacob had, including Jacob. Being in this dire strait, Jacob began to cry out to God, "Oh God, deliver me from Esau." Genesis 32, 9 through 12. What Jacob did not know, and what we often don't realize in situations like this, is how God goes about helping us. We cry out to God for help, but we oftentimes want to tell God how to help us. What we have in our mind is that God will somehow remove our problems, make our situations, circumstances, our enemies go away. But I come to tell you that God doesn't always do it that way. God answered Jacob's prayer for protection from Esau by wrestling with him all night. And as a result of the wrestling, it left Jacob limping as he approached his brother. His plan had been that if Esau attacked one camp, Jacob in the other camp could escape. But now, because he had a limp, his hip had been dislocated, he couldn't even run from Esau if he tried. He was now totally dependent on God. The way God helps us is by breaking us out of our innate or inherent self-dependency. But we want it our way. We want to depend on our own might, our own intellect, so that we can lean and depend solely on Him. And in that context of brokenness, that context of limping, that context of having to lean and depend solely on God, we then are able to receive our blessings. The problem is that many of us, me included, just like Jacob, want God to use His blessing to further our own agenda. We want to use God and God's blessings to further our own agenda. All his life, all my life, all your life, Jacob had been using God and people to get what he wanted for himself. But now, God brings Jacob to see that you don't use God for your blessings. You have to submit to God. And when we submit to God, that's when he blesses us. And oftentimes, we have to enter a state of brokenness to become submissive. Brokenness. And in the midst of our brokenness, God will bless us. He may not deliver us from, he may not bless us the way we want him to, but he delivers us. Brokenness isn't so bad. Brokenness brings about submission, which brings about blessings. Brokenness. I don't know what condition you're in right now, but trust and believe. If you submit to God, he will deliver you. He will bless you. May God bless and keep you is our prayer. And as always, should you have any questions, please feel free to inbox me.